Welcome back, everyone. Our next session focuses on helpful apps for children and families with special needs. Darren Ovcharzak is a speech-language pathologist with a passion for augmentative and alternative communication. She holds her certificate of clinical competence in speech-language pathology and earned a master's degree from the University of Houston. Darren now works in a pediatric clinic and school for children with complex medical needs, providing speech therapy, training, and support for families, caregivers, and teachers, and has been a Bridge Apps team member since 2013. Please join me in welcoming Darren.
Good morning, everyone. I'm really glad to be here with you all. Welcome to helpful apps for children and families with special needs. Let's go ahead and get started. So as she said, my name is Darren Ovcharzak. I'm a speech therapist at Easter Seals of Greater Houston and Bridging Apps. Bridging Apps is a program of Easter Seals, and the whole goal of our program is to bridge the gap between technology and people with disabilities. And for a lot of families, that starts with mobile devices, whether it's a smartphone or an iPad or a tablet, things that we have kind of already incorporated into our daily lives and our kind of family routines and everything, helping families find apps and devices that will help people with disabilities reach their highest potential. Like I said, we start with everything from smartphones. My specialty is the high-tech communication devices, like with eye gaze and all of this crazy potential and life-giving technology. We work with children, teens, and adults. So all the way across the lifespan, we don't really specialize in any one population. We have a very large visually impaired community that we work with, developmental disorders, physical disabilities. As a speech therapist, I specialize in AAC, or Augmentative and Alternative Communication, AugCom. There's all sorts of acronyms that go around with this. So my passion really is finding a way for children and adults to communicate independently throughout their day and at home and at school and when they go to McDonald's and they want to order French fries and chicken nuggets, because that is almost inevitably what all of my kids want to order. Our lab also works with adults and older adults who maybe aren't as familiar with technology. So we have this one rock star client who's well into her 90s, God bless her, and she is determined to learn how to use email and get the iPhone so she can text with her grandkids, and she's doing great. So we really meet our clients where they are with their either development or their needs, and find a way to help make their lives better. Oftentimes we start with mobile technology because it is so mainstream. Our biggest concern is we introduce this app or this device to this family, and we know deep down, long-term, this is going to be great. But if the child doesn't like it, and we get the throwing and the flushing it down the toilet, I don't know why the flushing the toilet. I don't know. It happens all the time. But they don't buy into it, right? They don't see the benefit of it in their lives, and so we get AT abandonment, right? We get the never mind, this is too hard, or it's not working right now, and I need something to work right now, which I completely respect, because we do need a way to communicate and interact in our environment in this moment, but also planning long term. The benefits of more independence is communication. You have regulation, you have stress, ability to kind of stay calm in the moment. participating in daily routines, getting yourself dressed in the morning, ordering at a restaurant, things that, typically developing children and families with only typically developing children may take for granted. They may not realize that kind of rite of passage of being able to place your own order at a restaurant, to go to the bathroom by yourself, to do laundry, to manage your medication, to go on vacation with just, a group of girlfriends and not an aide and a parent and, everything else. And obviously employment is our goal for our, transition age kids, what we call like the teenagers and kids that are aging out of school, is we're looking for employment. An additional benefit of mobile technology is because it is mainstream and typically it's a little bit smaller, a little bit easier to manipulate, you can engage with a device and with the person at the same time. So a lot of times, like the big bulky eye gaze and communication devices are physically a barrier to interacting with someone else. They're necessary because it's their voice, but it's this big computer and it's got to be right here. And if I'm trying to talk to you over here, it's a physical barrier, versus if I just have my smartphone and I'm typing on my phone, then I can show it to you. You're still getting that engagement and that social interaction, which is so essential for the enrichment of people's lives. That being said, like I said, speech therapist, so the communication aspect is definitely my passion. I want to show you some different apps that are kind of, think of it as like a buffet, right? So depending on the need, depending on the kid, our goals, these are some of the more popular apps that we use, that I see families coming into my sessions with. This list is by no means exhaustive. This is literally like the top 5. There are hundreds of apps. And one of the things that Bridging Apps does is we review apps. We have specialists review apps to kind of help you sort through the mountain that is the App Store or the Play Store. I'll go into that a little bit later. But to get started, the first kind of basic app, basic style of communication is called choice making, right? So the picture that you see on my screen is for a puzzle that I do with a lot of my kids. And I have them ask, what piece of the puzzle do you want? They touch the picture, it says the word, and we keep going. It's great, it's very simple, it's very cause and effect. It's very similar to, some of you may be familiar with PECs or picture exchange. Some of you may have the no-tech version of this, which is just pictures in like a photo album or a binder. Tell me what you want to eat, and they go find the picture of the apple juice, and then you give them the apple juice. Similar to that is this, it's called Sounding Board. I see this one a lot from the school districts because it's a free download. A lot of the school districts use this. These are both very easy to customize. Actually, almost exclusively, you have to make them yourself. So you take the mobile device and you take a picture of what it is, you write what you want it to say, and you go forward that way. This is a really, really helpful set of apps if we're starting out with communication, if we're not sure where we are, or I also recommend these apps for my kids that are getting frustrated with the more kind of complex systems, because it is so simple, right? So if we're about to have a temper tantrum, or we're having a meltdown, we're having a moment where we're getting really frustrated, or we're really upset, or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe we're super happy and we're so excited we can't calm down enough to make a sentence. We have this kind of simplified backup so that they can communicate their emotions, their basic needs. I need to go to the bathroom, right? Sometimes if it's an emergency, we don't want to have to write this sentence, I need to go to the bathroom, right? Like, ooh, no, we need a one button bathroom now. And then we can go very quickly. So it's nice to have kind of a backup system Sometimes choice boards and sounding boards can provide that for you on an iPad. Moving forward into the more complex, some of these may look very familiar. These are very traditional AAC apps. We have Proloquo to Go, and we have Snap Core First. And I put these two together because they are organized very similarly. The words are grouped by categories. So you can see at the bottom of the Proloquo, it says people, things, places. And on the Snap, this picture in the middle, it says all word list. And it's grouped the same way, right? So if you're talking about animals, you're going to go to animals, right? And then it's going to show you a bunch of different animals. You can go to farmyard. It's all category based, which is great. Very easy. You and I learned how to do this a long time ago in school. So it's very easy for us to help guide a user on where to find words. The number of buttons is customizable. So again, if we have someone who's starting off, or if we're regressing, if we're losing some skills, maybe before we were able to see, and distinguish and make sentences at the size of the screens that I'm showing here, but maybe we're losing some fine motor skill, or maybe we're losing some visual skills. We can simplify the layouts on both of these apps to accommodate where you are. I always tell my families that are looking for AAC, if you're going through insurance, if you're going through your state telephone access system in Texas, it's called STAP, but there's one in every state. They will only get a device every 5 years. So with that in mind, it's kind of a balancing act of where my families are now and where the child or the adult or the user is going to be in 5 years. Like it's a big chunk of time, whether you're gaining skills or losing skills. It's a significant amount of time. So these apps that are already programmed and that you can customize all the settings are really good resources, because you can always adapt them to what the skills are for the moment. So as the child's language system grows, you can increase it, either access to vocabulary, complexity, and the opposite if needed. The other app that I love, because like I was saying, it goes across the spectrum, is Touch Chat. And this is one that, so the picture on the left is if you touch the food, it'll show you your food options. You pick which one you want, and it says the whole sentence. So it's essentially one touch for a sentence. I want pizza. It's my favorite. The picture in the middle is a vocabulary that helps build phrases. So first you hit I want, then what do you want to do? Do you want to eat or drink or play? Those are the three I give in therapy all the time. You pick on which one it is, then it takes you to the next part of the sentence. So it's working on that sentence building. Everything is kind of grouped by the action, right? So food is going to be under eat. You can also find it when you go to things, like you can find it a couple of different ways, which I like. And then finally, the last picture on the right is the sentence building. And so it's a little bit more text-based. So kids that are maybe school age or a little bit more literate, that have those sight words, this is really good. But it does also have the little visuals to help. And you'll see the visuals are the same across all of the different vocabularies. They also tend to stay in kind of the same location, which is really helpful. Like you see food and drink is always left and right, eat and drink the same. So they try and keep some of this motor planning to help with the consistency as you grow or change the vocabularies. One thing I'd like to point out is all of these apps are mobile device based, but these softwares are available on dedicated communication devices. So like Touch Chat, you can get it on an iPad or on an Android tablet. Or if you need like switch access, or if you need eye gaze, another way other than just touching the screen, You can get a dedicated device like with an eye gaze bar so that that vocabulary and that motor plan of like where to touch to say what you want to say all gets to stay the same, right? So if we're able to use an iPad now and we're very proficient, we can do what we need to do, but maybe we lose skills where our fine motor isn't as great and now we need to switch to an eye gaze, you can get a device that will use your eye gaze that you can just transport over your software so that everything stays the same. So there's nice continuity, which is really helpful, and it keeps everyone not frustrated, you and the user as well. So that being said, communication is only one aspect of what we do. The other part of what we do is we've just got to get through the day, right? I work with a range of kids. Some of them are little and some of them are older, but all of my kids have some needs for executive functioning, right? Whether it's, if we need a schedule or we need some regulation, some downtime to kind of calm down. Social stories are really big. All of that, Apple has taught us there's an app for that. So again, there are a million apps that do the same thing as the ones that I'm going to show you. These are just the top 5 that I use in my sessions, and I would welcome any recommendations that you have that you're using, and we'll explore some more options later. ChoiceWorks is a visual scheduling app. I absolutely adore this app. It's so simple to use. It's very intuitive, and it has a whole bunch of features that really maximize all the different learning styles, right? So if you need a how-to video, you can film it. So the first picture on the right is to hang up a coat, right? So you can just say, hang up your coat, but this one has a video embedded. So it's actually following the child hanging up a coat. So if they need that visual modeling, that video modeling, you can do this in this app. You just drag and drop. Once you get to the end of the list, you get a pick from your rewards. What do you want to do? So it's really highly motivating for a lot of people. It's a way to help them get organized and kind of move throughout the day. As I said, independence in those activities of daily living, whether it's at school or at home. It's just a really great app. They also have the red icon at the top of your screen is for the ChoiceWorks calendar. So if they want to do a calendar, they can see what's happening on different days, what it's going to look like, things like that. It's great. I absolutely love this app. Time Timer is a classic. You have the actual time timers that you see in the classrooms. There's an app for it on pretty much any phone you can find. The benefit of this is you can see how much time you have left, and it goes in reverse. So you can see, we started with 35 minutes and it's slowly getting less full. And then when the timer is done, we're all done and we move on to the next thing, or it's time to go, or whatever the case may be. It's really helpful with transitions, especially with visual learners, because having that visual, and especially because it's bright red on a really boring white background, it's very obvious. So it's really helpful, especially at the end of my sessions when it's time to transition out. If we don't want to leave, that eases our routine, and the kids know and they learn to respect it and they honor it, and it makes everyone's day a little bit easier, which is the best. Stop, Think, Breathe Kids is a new discovery for me, and I found it when I was working with my 3-year-old godson who was having some meltdowns because we're 3 and emotions are about this big and the body's about this big. So it's really great because you see the emojis on the left and you pick, how are you feeling right now? And you can pick up to 3 different feelings. And then it will tell you some different activities that you can do to help with those feelings. So this is great for mental health, for sensory regulation, kind of integrating all of these things. if you're, so DJ, my godson was having a little meltdown. He told me he was angry and he was frustrated. I was like, okay, I completely understand. Let's watch the video and learn what we can do. And so the cute little monkey is holding his fingers and he's showing you how to breathe. So what you do is you watch the little video. It's got some calming music in the background and it talks you through how to do the different activities to help regulate. It's so, so great. And because it was something that he could hold and that he could do for himself, he felt like he was in control enough that he was able to do that himself. And when he was finished, he was like, okay, thanks, Auntie Darren, and handed my phone and went back outside to go, finish doing whatever he was doing. So it was really, really helpful, not only for him to be able to identify those emotions with the little emojis, the visuals, but also for him to be able to watch the video and do some of that regulation for himself, which was really great. His mom was floored. She was so grateful. She downloaded it right away. I think they're still using it because it clicked for him, which is what I really love to see in my clients is when it clicks, right? He didn't need it anymore and he handed it back to me. I was like, oh, this is good, Mom, this worked. He had that buy-in that he saw the value of it. Story Creator is a free app for social stories. This is another great one when you're talking about emotions or even just telling stories, right? Making a scrapbook from a family vacation or maybe family lives out of town. A million different uses for this. And it's great. I absolutely love this app. It's very simple to use. Drag and drop the pictures. You can write the text. You can doodle on it. You can put stickers on it. It's really, really great. And the kids get a kick out of it. They love making it. And then a lot of times they want to go back and read it themselves, right? They want to read about, going to Disneyland, or they want to take it as show and tell and show their friends, look, this is my, grandma that lives out of town, or this is the vacation we went on. So it's really useful in that sense of kind of like making a keepsake, right? That they always have access to. And CanPlan kind of goes along with ChoiceWorks, the visual scheduling app. This is a task analysis app. So that means essentially you take, for example, a chore and you break it down into all the little steps. So this one is washing clothes is what's pictured here. For the school kids that I work with, we have one for washing our hands, especially now with COVID. We wash our hands and we count to 20. Ooh, that's fun. So there's lots of different, again, in the effort to be more independent, right? I don't want to have to stand there with this 15-year-old telling him what he needs to do to wash his hands after he goes to the bathroom. He's 15. He can learn how to do this. So what we did is we made it on the app, we printed it out, we've stuck it on the wall right next to the sink, and now he knows he's got to do his little checklist on the wall when he's washing his hands. Then when he's done, he turns around and he's like, Miss Darren, I did it. We have a secret handshake that we get to do when we do things. So he's very excited. It's very motivating for him. And you can see this huge sense of pride that he did this thing and he didn't need help, which was really, really motivating for this kid in particular. The other part of the actual app is you can have like an audio version as well. So if they maybe aren't such a visual learner, maybe they're an auditory learner and they need someone to kind of, or not someone, they benefit from hearing it more than seeing it. You can have a recording play each step as they're going through. And also you can set up a schedule and reminders. So, you can get a little alert when it's time to make coffee in the morning, or, on this day, it's speech day, right? So what do we need for speech? We need this, we need that, it's time to go to school. Well, the alarm goes off at what time? Okay, make sure you have your backpack and everything's written out for them so they can be more independent and it's less work for you, the parents and caregivers, which is always my goal. Some of these, it's more work for you at the beginning. But then once the kids and the users buy into it and they see the benefits in their lives, and they get that sense of accomplishment that my one kid has, or they realize the benefit of using these communication apps where they can talk for themselves and they don't need you to translate for them, then it's infinitely less work for you, which is ideal. And it can be a mountain, and it's not always a smooth transition, right? A lot of times we have some slides backwards, and parents have to kind of step back in again and kind of reinforce everything. But as parents, you are the best advocates for your kids. So if you really believe that this is what is going to be best for them and you push for it, you can inspire them, you can inspire the other people around them, whether that's maybe a spouse that's maybe not on the same page, maybe it's grandparents. You gotta love the grandparents, but they're not always on the same page as parents when it comes to priorities. In my experience, I have some grandparents that are primary caregiver, and so they are parents, they're the ones driving this and whatever. But that's a beautiful thing, right? Like the family dynamic is its own beautiful and glorious thing. But having a huge support system will really help the kids and the users progress and move forward. And as much as we want to get through the day, we want them to have fun and to enjoy their time as kids. So that being said, these next few are some of my highlight apps that the kids always request when they get their break time during speech. But also, these are games that I play with my cousin's kids and my godson, and they're not designed specifically for children with special needs, but because they're still children, they still enjoy them. So that we as facilitators, as caregivers and parents, we may need to be a little creative and think outside the box a little bit, but we can use these apps that are produced for the general population and make them so enriching for our kids' lives. So let me do the highlights real fast. Bamba ice cream, free app. You make an ice cream shop and you serve each other ice cream. One of my favorite things to do with these apps is to play together on a screen. So I know there are always questions about screen time. My favorite way to kind of mitigate that is to play together on a screen, right? So if you had like the pretend food for a kitchen, you would play pretend together with the food. We're doing the same thing here, but it's just on an iPad, right? So we can take turns making it for each other. You make it for me, follow my directions. As a speech therapist, is all about the talking and the, the language goals. So that's kind of where my brain goes to automatically, but make it fun. Finger painting is, again, something we do in the real world, right? Not just on an iPad. This one I really enjoy because each of the different colors has a different sound or a different song that plays when you paint. The other reason I really like this one is it doesn't have to be so specific with the fine motor. So if you touch with your finger and also the back of your hand, you just get 2 lines. So you don't get penalized for not having perfect fine motor control, which I really, really appreciate. My kids love this one. Most of the time, the screen looks like this. They don't actually paint pictures. They just kind of like listen to the music and make it keep going. It's fine. They love it. Toca Kitchen Monster, this is another one. Toca Boca is the developer. I love this developer. There are no written instructions, which is great. So everything is very intuitive. But again, you're cooking for one of these monsters. You pick what food and how you're gonna cook it, and you get to feed it to the monster, and it's great. It's so fun. And then this is an interactive book. So you may recognize the title. There are a million of these out there. I absolutely love them. Not all of my kids have the patience to sit down with a book and like actually turn the pages. But this one, it feels like a video, and then they get to interact, knocking the blocks down, cleaning the glue off the side of the page, and they just get a kick out of it. And we sit together and we read the book together like we would if it were not on an iPad or on a screen. Chatterpix, this is one, talk about getting resourceful. My coworker's daughter is dyslexic, so she struggles with writing reports and things like that. So she used this app for a book report. So what you do is you take a picture and you draw a line that's going to be the mouth, and you record yourself speaking, and it plays back, and it looks something a little bit like this.
Title: Pancakes, Pancakes. Author: Eric Carle. This book is about a boy.
And it goes on. She does her whole book report using this little app. My kids get a huge kick out of this. For some reason, the slide in the sensory gym always gets its picture taken, and it's always talking to me. And it's great because they get a huge kick out of hearing themselves and drawing the mouth in funny places, and you can decorate it and put eyes and silly hats and things like that. It's just good fun. It's really enjoyable and it's silly. So those are my super speedy crash course in my favorite apps. Our website is bridgingapps.org. We review apps. I would really encourage you to go and check it out because, like I said, there are hundreds of apps that do the same things as the ones that I was just showing you. And I want to encourage you to go and explore and find one that's going to work for you. So that being said, I just want to say thank you and open the floor. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to help. This is my contact information. Feel free to reach out to me, send me an email, call or text me. This is my work phone number. And yeah, please let me know if you have any questions.
This was wonderful. Thank you so much. Everybody is down for this. Am I sounding like everybody else? No. Okay. We have a few questions through the chat. I think the first one, what age would you recommend that people start thinking about communication technology?
Ooh, that's always a good one. I have some kids as young as 3 that are starting to use technology. Some kids at 3 are not ready for that. So it really depends. My personal belief is it's all about exposure, right? So giving them opportunity and access to as many different ways to communicate as possible, whether that's an iPad or a switch or sign language or, pretty much anything. And then finding something that fits or sparks with them and then kind of going from there.
That's great. This one's really close to cover. Pros and cons switching program. So I think for we've experienced, we really want it, but we as parents are still children. There's a reluctance to keep pushing it. So at what point do you decide to review and keep pushing or just try a whole new program?
Again, that's a really, really good question. And it's that fine line of challenge and frustration. I would encourage you, whomever asked the question, and just all of you in general, to talk to the therapy team that you're working with because, like I said, parents are the greatest advocate for their kids. They know, you know your kids best. But at the same time, these professionals have kind of an alternative view or maybe just a different lens that they're looking through. So to me, it's really very a collaborative and very individualized decision to make. I know that doesn't answer your question at all. I'm sorry.
No, but I'll add it took us 5 years. And it's 2 years we wanted to quit. We knew the school was using it, we were using it, but we weren't consistently. And the moment we all used it together, it just clicked. Your click comment was so relevant to me, and that it just one day something switched and all of a sudden she understood it and started using it. And she has gotten much happier because now we understand specifically what she wants instead of just generally.
Yes, absolutely.
We have another one in here around like how to secure the device. So not just from the throwing, but just like how to have it sit there and mounted at the right angle so it's easier for them to use. Do you have any ideas?
Absolutely. So there are all sorts of accessories and mounts, and the shopping list is exceedingly long. Personally, I have a mount that I really like. It's a RAM mount with suction cups, so you can kind of move it from table to table, station to station. And the tablet holder part is adjustable, so my kids' iPad mini will fit, and then my big iPad will fit as well. So I would look at some mounting options. I believe we have some of those reviewed on our website. I have to double check. A case with either a strap for carrying or the little kickstand to help hold it up is really helpful. I'm not gonna lie to you, most of the time I prop it up on something. So there's either a stack of books or a stack of games in my speech room that I just kind of stack it up and I prop the kids' tablet or my tablet on. I get pretty creative. I work for a nonprofit, so our funding budget is pretty small. So yeah, I would encourage you to get creative. The other one that we use a lot is Big Grips has the big foam iPad case, but they also have a wedge, like a tablet. I think they call it a tablet holder or tablet mount, but it's like a big wedge of foam. And that's a really good one because you can put it in there and have it stand straight up, or you can kind of recline it on the slant. That one's been really helpful too.
That's fantastic. We have another one, and this one comes up a lot, is you really want the device to be the device that is meant for communication.
Yes.
But we also know our kids are engaged by the games and such. So do you have thoughts on separating? Should you have different, the communication on one device and games on another, or can you put them all on one?
In an ideal world with, unlimited budgets and, everything that we need, having two separate devices is ideal. That being said, some of the apps that I showed in that middle section about the visual schedule and the not necessarily communication apps, but the kind of get you through the day apps, you want access to easily. So having them on a separate device doesn't always make sense either. That being said, I have lots of kids that will get out of their communication apps and go to YouTube. And they spend all day on YouTube and we don't use our words. So it's kind of a tricky balance. If for those of you that are familiar with iPads, guided access is my best friend. It locks them into one app at a time, essentially. So if they want to get out of their communication app and go play a game during their break, they've got to give it to me, and then I can lock them into that next app until our timer is done. And then we switch back to our words and we keep going from there. Android has a similar feature. I forget what it's called off the top of my head, but those kind of parental controls can be really helpful if you only have one device and kind of, trying to do all of the things on one device.
It's very helpful. I think I caught all of the questions that were in our chat. So if anyone has any others, please feel free to type them in or raise your virtual hand and we'll call on you. But really, Darren, fantastic information. It sounds like we can go to Bridging. Tell me the website again.
So it's bridgingapps.org.
Bridgingapps.org. And is there a way I loved all the different tools and techniques that you shared. Is there a way to share some of that, or is that all available on the website?
Yeah, so both. I have submitted a version of the PowerPoint, so you're welcome to reference that. On our website, there is, we have our reviews with kind of similar information. We give kind of a narrative of how we've used these apps with children with special needs or adults with special needs, or just kind of ways to think outside of the box with these kind of mainstream apps. So that all of that information is there. Yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Oh, and we got another question, and I think this will be our closeout, because this one I bet you have a lot to say about. How the heck do we motivate our children to use these at home? Again, we understand them, they understand us. It's so hard to stay disciplined here. So just any tips for introducing at home and making that consistent?
Absolutely. This is my bread and butter. I love you for asking this. Thank you so much. My first suggestions to families when they're taking a device home is start with one activity, whether it's getting dressed in the morning or it's telling what toy you want to play with after nap time. Like pick one time, commit to using it that one time during the day. If it's the bathroom, leave the device in the bathroom and you go in there. He says, I need to use the bathroom. We finish with that. We say, I need to wash my hands. However it is, pick your time and be as consistent as you can. And I know it's so challenging because you do understand them. You understand them infinitely better than I could as a therapist or some stranger off the street. But really working with them. The other option is to find something super motivating for them. So if they love bubbles equals device, right? Like if you really want to do something and you're really motivated to get it, you'll do whatever it takes to get it. So again, for me, it's bubbles, speech and bubbles. I don't know why, but it is. It's bubbles. Yep, that's my. So anything that's super motivating for them, start with that. If you're struggling to find something motivating or you're finding it a hard routine to build for yourself, then just set a time and stick to it.
Really good one. I will just share that for us, it was TV. So we put in all of her favorite shows. She would ask, I want to watch TV, and then she could pick which one. And it just started to help her realize that she could tell us what show, not just turn on the TV.
The other thing I love about the TV is you can turn the volume down really low so they can't hear it. And then they've got to ask you to turn it up. Right? So you can kind of sabotage them a little bit so that they've got to interact with you more than just that one time to get you to turn it on. It's great. Great fun makes it sound a little mean, but it's
okay. I think one last tip I'll share with parents as someone who's been on this journey is the talk to your child through the device. So I will actually go in and say, hey, Dylan, what do you want to eat for lunch? And I'll type it in, and then she'll have to go in and do it too. And I found that once she saw I communicated with it too, that also, I think, supported some of the breakthrough.
Absolutely. Modeling is so key. Yes.
Our children have so much to say. And, Miriam, thank you so much for coming and joining us, because we want to give voice to our children and allow them to engage with the world the way we all do. I cannot imagine what it must be like to not be able to talk as a talker. This was wonderful, Darren. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you being part of Team NBIA. And if you do have questions, anyone in the audience, we have her email address. If you didn't write it down, reach out to me directly and I can get you two in touch. Everyone, we're going to head off into our next session. We'll see you there.
Thanks, everyone.